So I've been staring at this stack of notes you sent over for Investiture of the Gods, or Feng Shenyanyi, if we're being proper.
Right.
And I have to be honest, I walked into this expecting the usual suspects.
You were expecting the nine-tailed fox.
I was expecting the fox, Daji, the femme fatale, who, basically brings down a dynasty single-handedly.
I'm clear.
She's on all the book covers, she's in all the movies. But then I started reading through the source material you highlighted, and it's not about her, it's about her brother.
It is, and it's a shame he gets so overshadowed because Quanzhong, that's the brother's name, is, well, he's arguably one of the most interesting case studies in the entire epic.
See, that's a big claim, because from what I gather, this book is basically ancient Chinese Avengers.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
You've got gods, demons, immortals flying around, laser beams, magic fans, and then you have this guy, Su Quanzhong, who, as far as I can tell, is just a dude.
He is just a dude, as you put it, and that is exactly why we're doing a deep dive on him today. In a world defined by high-level magic and cosmic destinies, Su Quanzhong is a mortal general.
He has no mana bar.
He has no mana bar. He has no spell slots.
So he's bringing a knife to a nuke fight?
Essentially, yes. But he manages to make a significant dent in the war anyway. Our mission today is to figure out how he did that, why his tragic end matters, and this really bizarre promotion he gets in the afterlife.
Yeah, the afterlife part completely threw me. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to set the stage. Who is this guy? Really? I know he's Dachi's brother, but what's his vibe? Is he like the bookish diplomat type?
Far from it. To understand Quanzhong, you have to look at the family dynamic. He's the eldest son of Suhu, the Marquis of Jizhou, so he's nobility, but he's military nobility.
Okay.
The text describes his personality with a very specific metaphor. Fire-like.
Fire-like. So impulsive.
Extremely. He is impatient, explosive, and, well, prone to action over contemplation. He's not the general sitting in the back of the tent moving chess pieces.
He's one at the front.
He's the one screaming at the front of the line.
Okay, so he's a hothead. But he's a loyal hothead. Right, because the whole conflict starts with his family.
It does. And this context is vital because it really sets the tone for the entire end of the Shang dynasty. King Zhou, the tyrant, demands that Su Quanzhong's sister, Daji, be sent to the capital to be his concubine.
Which is not a request you can usually say no to.
In that era, absolutely not. To refuse the king is treason. It's death. But the father, Su Hu, is a man of rigid principle. He refuses.
He just says no.
He does more than that. He actually writes a poem on the palace gate, insulting the king, and then marches home.
Wow. Okay, so rebellion runs in the family?
It does. But here's the thing. When the father rebels, Su Quanzhong isn't trying to talk him down. He isn't saying, hey, Dad, maybe let's not fight the entire empire.
No, he's all for it.
He is enthusiastic about it. He is ready to throw down immediately.
He's been waiting for this.
He has, and this leads to the Jizhou defense. This is the first major military conflict in the book, and Su Quanzhong is the vanguard.
Okay, let's talk about his combat style. Because you mentioned he doesn't have magic, so what is he working with? Is he just out there with a standard issue sword?
No, he has his signature weapon. And the sources are very specific about the dimensions, which, usually implies it's important.
Right.
He wields a 10-foot, 2-inch iron halberd.
10 feet? That's a telephone pole with a blade on it.
It's a massive, heavy infantry weapon, yeah. Usually used on horseback. The length gives him reach, but the weight implies incredible physical strength.
It's a weapon for just smashing things.
It's for sweeping enemies off their mounts. It's visceral. It's not a graceful magic wand. It's a heavy piece of iron designed to smash.
I love that image. You've got all these mystics floating on clouds, and here's Quanzhong just swinging a giant iron bar at people.
And for a while, that works. This is the high of his career. The sources describe his first few duels in the Jizhou defense, and he's an absolute terror.
And this is against other mortals.
Correct. At first. He rides out against a general named Mei Wu. It's not even a contest. Quanzhong cuts him down almost immediately.
Okay.
Then he fights Cheng Yingbiao. Now, Yingbiao is a high-ranking commander, a skilled warrior.
And Quanzhong handles him.
He destroys him. He wounds him so severely he's forced to retreat. The text makes it very, very clear. When the playing field is level, when it's just skill against skill, muscle against muscle, so Quanzhong is untouchable.
He's the apex predator.
He is the apex predator of the mortal battlefield.
This is Feng Shenyanyi. The playing field doesn't stay level for long.
No, it never does. And this is where the tragedy begins. Enter Cheng Heihu.
Cheng Heihu. I read this part and I actually got frustrated on Quanzhong's behalf.
I can see why.
Because this fight starts Fair, right?
It starts as a martial duel at cross weapons, and again, Quanzhong is winning. He is physically pushing He Hu back.
So in a fair fight, our boy wins.
He does. The sources say He Hu realizes he cannot win through martial arts.
Yeah.
He is outmatched.
But He Hu is not just a general.
No, he's a cultivator. He has access to magic. So, realizing he's about to lose, he turns his horse and pretends to retreat.
And Quanzhong, being fire-like.
Being fire-like and impatient, chases him.
Oh no. The oldest trick in the book.
And that's when He Hu unstraps a red gourd from his back and releases a magical creature, the iron-beaked divine eagle.
Wait, pause. A divine eagle. Like a bird.
A magical golden-eyed, iron-beaked bird of prey that grows to a massive size. Imagine you are Su Quanzhong.
Okay.
You're full of adrenaline, you're confident, you're swinging your halberd, and suddenly the sun is blocked out by a divine beast swooping down at you.
That's terrifying. What do you even do against that?
You lose. That's what you do. The eagle attacks his face, the horse panics, and Quanzhong hits the dirt. He is captured.
It just feels so cheap. He was winning.
It feels cheap to us, and I'm sure it felt cheap to him. But in the context of the book, it's a harsh lesson. In this world, raw human effort has a ceiling.
Yeah.
You can be the strongest man in the world, but if someone has a magic gourd, you are helpless.
It changes the texture of the story, doesn't it? Because usually we focus on the wizards. But watching Quanzhong get captured, it grounds the fantasy. It reminds you that for normal people, this war is a horror movie.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He represents the human cost of this cosmic war. When he bleeds, it's real blood, not spiritual essence.
So he gets captured, but obviously he doesn't die there because we have more to cover.
Right. There's a lot of political maneuvering. Daji eventually goes to the king to save the family. The fox spirit takes over her body.
Yeah.
It's a whole separate saga.
Right.
But the upshot is, Su Quanzhong survives. And eventually, he switches sides.
He joins the good guys.
He joins Western Qi the rebels,
Yeah.
led by King Wu, and the master strategist Zhong Zia. So now, he is fighting to overthrow the tyrant he hated in the first place. He's back in the saddle.
Back with the halberd.
Back with the halberd. And he fights in several campaigns. But we need to fast forward to his final battle, the Battle of Tongguan.
Okay. I looked at the notes for this, and if I thought the eagle was unfair, this is next level.
It is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
At Tongguan, Quanzhong is facing the Yu brothers. And these guys are not interested in an honorable duel.
The notes mention hidden weapons.
Yes. As Quanzhong rides out to challenge them, he gets hit by a concealed projectile. Think of it like a sniper shot.
So he's wounded before the fight even starts.
Wounded before it properly starts. But he doesn't stop.
Of course not.
No. And this is where that fire-like nature comes out again. Most people would retreat. Quanzhong keeps charging. He engages Yu Da, one of the brothers, while bleeding.
Adrenaline is a hell of a drug.
It is. And he's holding his own, despite the injury. But then, the Yu brothers pull out their ace. A magical artifact called the heart-striking pestle.
Well, heart-striking pestle, even the name sounds nasty. What is it? A club? A projectile?
It's a small, magical weapon that can be thrown. It's essentially a heat-seeking missile for the chest.
So he's wounded, he's fighting a fresh opponent, and then they launch a magic missile at him.
Correct. There is no dodging it. There is no parrying it with an iron halberd. It strikes him dead in the chest. He falls from his horse, and that is the end of Su Quanzhong.
Man, that is bleak. It feels inevitable in a way, like he's trying to punch down a brick wall until his hands broke.
It is inevitable. The narrative is telling us that courage alone isn't enough against the supernatural. He fought until the very end, but he was physically incapable of countering the magic used against him.
So he dies on the battlefield. Just another casualty in a war of gods.
You would think so. But in Feng Xinyanyi, death is rarely the end. It's more like a performance review.
Right, the investiture part of the title. Zhang Zia deifies the fallen heroes.
Exactly. At the end of the war, the souls of the dead are summoned to the God execution platform to receive their titles. And Su Quanzhong is given a very specific, very prestigious role. He becomes a Star Lord.
Which sounds awesome, but we need to unpack the specific star. Because he becomes, what is it, Pojun?
Pojun Xingjun, which
Translates to
the Star Lord of the Broken Army.
broken army. Now, does that mean his army's broken? Or that he breaks armies?
That is the key question. In the context of the astrology used in the book, it refers to the action of breaking. He is the army breaker.
Okay, that fits. But tell me about this star, because I know the book uses a system of elements and yin-yang. Where does Pojun fit?
So the Pojun star is the seventh star of the Big Dipper. It's located at the very end of the handle,
The tip.
the very tip. And elementally, it belongs to water.
Water. That seems weird. Isn't he
Right.
fire-like? Water feels too calm.
That's a common misconception about the water element in the system. Don't think of a pond, think of a tsunami.
Okay.
Water is heavy. It's relentless. And when it crashes, it washes everything away. The energy of the Pojun star is defined as consumption or exhaustion. It represents a massive release of energy that depletes everything around it to achieve a goal.
So it's high octane.
Extremely. Among the 14 main stars in this astrological framework, Pojun is considered the most volatile. It represents change, but not gradual change, sudden, violent change.
Right.
The sources summarize its nature with a very powerful phrase, destruction before construction.
Destruction before construction. I want to linger on that
Oh.
because that feels like it explains his whole life.
It really does. If you look at Quanzhong's role, he was always the vanguard. He was the first to fight. The text basically calls him the daredevil.
The hip of the spear.
Exactly. The spear tip gets dulled. It gets broken.
Ugh.
But it's necessary to puncture the armor so the rest of the weapon can do the work.
And if we look at the rebellion, his family started it all.
Yes. Quanzhong and his father were the first domino. They were the destruction phase. They broke the peace with the Shang dynasty.
They tore down the idea of just obeying.
He tore down the concept of absolute loyalty to the king. Without that initial reckless act of destruction, the new Zhou dynasty, the construction, could never have been built.
So he's not just a guy who died. He's a symbol of the chaos you need to have before you can fix things.
That is the philosophical core of the character.
Yeah.
We tend to like our heroes to be builders. We like the wise kings, the lawgivers. But the Pojun star suggests that sometimes you need a wrecking ball first.
You need someone reckless enough to say, I don't care if you have a magic eagle, I'm fighting you.
Correct. You need someone who doesn't calculate the odds. Because if Quanzhong had calculated the odds, he never would have rebelled. He would have submitted.
And the rebellion never would have happened.
Exactly. His fire-like impatience, his recklessness. It was a flaw in a general, perhaps, but it was a necessity for history.
It's amazing how well that fits. The mortal general who breaks himself against the magic of the world just to crack the door open for everyone else.
It gives him a dignity that the raw battle stats don't show. He isn't the strongest character. He isn't the smartest. But he represents the sheer force of human will.
The human element.
Yes. In a story about gods manipulating fate, he is the variable of human stubbornness.
I think that's why I like him. We can't relate to the guy with the magic third eye or the flying lotus boy, but the guy who just refuses to quit even when the sniper shoots him, that resonates.
It's the vanguard spirit. High risk, high reward, total commitment.
So we've gone from Daji's brother to the celestial wrecking ball.
A well-deserved promotion, I'd say.
Absolutely. It really makes you think about how we view chaos. We usually avoid it. But maybe, like Quanzhong, it has a function.
Destruction before construction. You cannot remodel the house until you tear down the rotting walls. Quanzhong was the hammer.
I love that. So here's a little homework for everyone listening. Tonight, if it's clear, go outside, find the Big Dipper.
Look for the handle.
Look for the very last star on the handle. That's Pojun. That's Quanzhong. And when you see it, don't just think of a star. Think of the guy with the iron halberd charging a divine eagle. Think of the necessary chaos.
And remember that sometimes being the one to start the fight is just as important as being the one to finish it.
Thanks for helping me unpack this one. This was way deeper than I expected from a side character.
Deepest waters are often found in the margins of the story.
Well said. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you on the next deep dive.